Okay, this is the second video for Project 6. I'm going to show you how to set up page 1. So the whole idea behind Project 6 is you're going to lay out a short article as a single page document. You're going to use a fairly traditional print layout. And we're going to really do a deep dive into making this page as beautiful as possible. You're going to learn all of the subtleties of designing a print text. So this part 1 is all about testing different text font options. Page 1, you're going to set up 6 different text boxes. You're going to test 6 different text serif typefaces with the actual text. So first thing you're going to do, you make sure you're on page 1, not on master page A, but on page 1. Get your type tool and draw a box that is 1/6 of our page layout. So it'll be 2 columns wide, 3 rows tall. And you will have a text frame that looks something like this. InDesign works entirely on the idea of frames, that you set up frames, square or some other shape, and you place text or you place artwork into these frames. I've given you guys a text document. I want you to actually use InDesign's text place feature. I don't want you to open up Word and copy and paste. The reason that we use the text place feature as professionals, we want to limit the possibilities for error as much as possible. And this happens all the time as a working designer. You'll be working with a writer. They will write something in Microsoft Word or some other word processor. They'll give you their text document in that format. You want to import it directly into your page layout program. If you are going into Word and copying and pasting, there are lots of opportunities to miss words, miss characters, to miss paragraphs even, to duplicate things by mistake. So it's much better to just import it. So you go to File with your type tool activated and you have a cursor flashing inside of this text box. You go to File, Place, and you place the text document. The text document, I will give it to you. It's what is graphic design, AIGA, DocX, which is a Microsoft Word format. Select the file, you hit open. You may or may not get this import options. Just hit OK if you do get it. And what you get here is the actual document text, or as much of it as will show up in this document. What we're going to do is we're going to take our first headline and subhead, we're going to delete them. This page and page 2, we're just going to test different typefaces, so we want to have a couple of paragraphs. You want to open up the text box a little bit, make it larger so that you can select more of the type. And for this first text box, what did I tell you guys? I want you to set this to be, so select all the text you see, change the typeface to be Minion Pro Regular. This typeface is built in, or not built in, it's included with Adobe Creative Suite software. So, and you want to set the size to be 9 on 11. This is a very common notation. 9 on 11 means 9-point type with 11 points of leading. You will see this notation all the time: 8 on 10, 10 on 12, 9 on 11. It's usually just written as the type size, a slash, and the leading size. So now we have Minion Pro Regular, 9 on 11. I'm going to bring my text box back up. And we're just going to have samples that look like this, where we are fitting as much of the text fits at the size. We want to add a, go to the front, the beginning, hit return, and you want to add a label. So we want to say what typeface it is, Minion Pro Regular, and the size, 9 on 11. Again, 9-point type, 11 points leading. You can switch it to the bold of the style for that label. Now, this seems like a good time to talk about the font list. I have given you guys a font list. I want you to work with fonts from this list for this project. All of the fonts on this list are either included with Adobe Creative Suite, or they are built in, or they're included with Macintosh operating system, Apple OS X. So what that means is you don't have to buy any typefaces for this class. Please don't do that. You have enough expenses as it is. So in this list, I've given you Adobe fonts are indicated with an asterisk, and the Apple fonts are indicated with a dagger, which looks like a little cross. If you're on a Macintosh, you should have all of these. If you're on a PC, you may substitute. If you don't have Baskerville, for example, you can use another typeface that looks like it. Big example is Helvetica is included on the Mac operating system, but you would need to use Arial, which is very similar if you're on a PC. If you're on a PC, you may substitute the best, most similar font that you have, but please don't vary from this list widely. We're going to work with text serifs and text sans serifs. So that means for the serif choices, you can use anything on this list, although I would recommend you don't do Trajan Pro, because Trajan Pro is an all capitals font, and we want upper and lower case for our article. And we're going to try some sans serifs as well, so you may use anything from this list. All right, so that's your font list I want you to work with here. So your first selection is Minion Pro Regular, 9 on 11. You can now just copy this box 5 more times and try 5 other text serif typefaces. You may, with the black arrow, select the box. You may do copy and paste, Command C and Command V, and then move it into position on your grid. That's one way to copy it. You may also, just like in Illustrator, you may select things and click Option and drag with the Option key down to make a copy and move a copy into place. I like this method because it's more precise. So I've just made 5 more copies of my Minion Pro regular box. And what you want to do is you want to change the typeface for each of these. The other 5 are your choices, as long as it's from the font list, and you want to use the regular weight. You don't want to go in and use extra bold or something like that. You want to use the regular weight, or sometimes it's called text weight or book weight, but the regular, or sometimes it's called Roman. Use the regular for each of these, and you can use their bold counterpart for the labels up at the top. So make sure that you also update the label to reflect what typeface it is. So I made my second one Baskerville. Maybe I'll make this one Adobe Caslon Pro. Keep them all at 9:11 size. We're going to experiment with different sizes and lettings after we've made a choice for the typeface. Make my label the bold. Let's try Georgia. Garamond. Now, just to be clear, you don't have to do the exact same fonts that I'm doing. You just choose 6 serif text faces from the font list. Now, one thing I have probably not shown you properly, you can just go into the type selector here and just start typing the name of the font and it will come up. Another thing you can do is, so my last one, maybe I'll do Times New Roman. So this time, instead of just starting to type it in, I'm going to go in here, and you can scroll through all the fonts that are installed and active. And you can work it that way as well. So I just switched it to Times New Roman there. I'll do it again here. This is a great way to browse what you have. It is a little bit slower than just typing in the font name. So if you know what font you're looking for, just starting to type it in is a big help. And what did I fail to update my label here? So double check. Make sure that you update the labels to list your 6 fonts. Otherwise, it can get very confusing very quickly. I'm going to include page 2 in this demo video because page 2 is essentially the same as page 1. We're just going to try 6 different sans serif typefaces. So here we have 6 different serif typefaces, and the point of this is that you're going to print these out, take a good serious look at the printout, because we're working at a size that is not really going to be very legible on screen, you want to make sure that it looks good printed at actual size. What I'm doing right now is just making sure that I have all of the type visible in every sample set to the right typeface. Okay. Now, you could create a new page in your Pages palette, go in here, draw a new text box, import the text again, style it, la 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 la. That's all sort of the hard way to do it. I'm going to show you an easier way. You can go to your page 1, which you've already laid out, designed, and set to 6 different typefaces. You can, within your Pages palette, if you drag it down onto this page icon, it will make an exact copy of it as a new page. So now this is page 2, this is page 1. You don't see a difference because they're exactly the same. But you can go to your page 2, and now we can change these to 5 sans serif text typefaces. So I'm going to start with Avenir Book. Do the same thing again. Make sure that you update the label to reflect your typeface choice. Let's see, let's do Futura. Keep them all at 9/11. And choose your favorites. I would recommend that you definitely look at some humanist sans serifs. They tend to work better for text. They're just a little easier to read for long extended text like this. You may try grotesques, you may try geometrics, but definitely would be a very good idea to include at least 1 or 2 humanist sans in your list. I'm actually going to put 3. I'm going to do Gil Sans. It's a very classic humanist sans. I'm going to include Myriad is a modern but very functional humanist sans. And my last one is going to be Optima, which I think is one of the most beautiful type designs of the 20th century, essentially. Although it can be a little hard to use sometimes. It might tend to be a little bit fussy for small text. All right, so now you have page 1 and 2 complete. What you're going to do at this point, you're going to save your file. You're going to print it out at 100% size on US letter paper. And you're going to go through and you're going to choose your 2 favorite specimens on the printout. Don't choose on screen, choose on the printout. Look at it printed. When you're choosing your 2 favorites, you want to use 2 criteria. One is, can you read it? How legible is it? Is it easy to read at this size? Or does it, is it harder to read? Does it make your eyes tired? Then it's not a good choice. And then the second one is aesthetic. Do you like the way this typeface looks at this size? You choose 2 favorites. Your favorites can both be serif, they can both be sans serif, they can be one of each. It's your 2 favorite samples from these first 2 pages, whichever 2 are your favorite. So print those out, choose them, put little red stars next to your 2 favorites on the printout, and hold on to the printout. You're going to need that. And that's the end of video 2.